I'm Aysha Griffin, and I'm the founder of Inhabit Your Dreams, coming to you today from my home on the Costa Brava in Catalonia, Spain. And we're going to be talking with Dave Wann, who is author of Tickling the Bear, How to Stay Safe in the Universe. Very exciting book that I recently read a galley of, and I wanted to be talking with the author. But before I want to tell you something about him. Dave has published 9 nonfiction books about sustainability and social change, and this is his first novel. So sometimes it was amazingly poignant and funny and upbeat, and the whole gamut of emotions. It's set in Denver and in Northern California, and it also has a very unusual adventure in the rainforests of Borneo. So Dave is joining us from Golden, Colorado. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks so much, Aysha. I hope you're doing well in Spain.
I'm fine. It's been quite a year, huh?
It has been. And I think the way I look at it is we're going through not only the travails of the pandemic health-wise, but we're also going through a value shift. I think in the year that we've had this awful pandemic going on, many of us have begun to re-examine who we are and what we want as a country. So I in a way, I kind of welcome the idea that we're making changes.
Yeah, and not just as a country, but I think globally, since we have all been so connected, and here we are talking to each other from other sides of the world, across the big pond. So congratulations on having written this book, because I think it's a huge step for any author, especially going from nonfiction to fiction. And so, what is it that caused you to want to write fiction after having some real success with your nonfiction work?
Well, good question. And I think there's a couple of different reasons, many different reasons why. And one of them is selfish. I wanted to have a little more fun writing this thing, have more smiles per hour as I was sitting at my desk. And also, secondly, and more importantly, I value the idea that fiction can create change. And I think facts alone cannot save the world or change the world. It's going to have to be emotions that we're feeling, authentic emotions, compelling stories, good, strong role models. So I took a shot at that, and I wanted to see if I could create very admirable characters. Mm-hmm. And I think to a certain degree, I've succeeded. So that was, I admire the novelists who have made changes in our culture and our civilization. Think of Charles Dickens, James Baldwin, Harper Lee, Barbara Kingsolver. These are novelists who set out to see if they could kind of shift our values a little bit. And to me, that's the whole ball of wax there is. When we shift our values, we're then able to adapt and adopt identities individually and as a culture that can be sustainable. And that, so that's where the crossover came between my nonfiction work and this novel, that I wanted to portray in the novel some of the ideas that I developed and had interviews with, etc., and put them into a novel. And I have had more smiles per hour. So it has been fun, but it has been a 5-year-long process. And I'd have to say that it hasn't been easy. The procrastination end of things is very seductive, and particularly when you have a garden out and back, 1-acre garden that needs tending. When you have a guitar sitting, on the couch and calling to you. However, what happened in this novel process was I kept after it because my characters told me to, and they charmed me with their ability to be determined and with their ability to fall in love and with their ability to stick to their convictions. And so at the end of the day, they more or less propelled me forward. They didn't propel me, but they propelled me forward.
Well, I think you developed them so beautifully. They're very vivid. They come alive. And interesting, too, that one of the main characters, who I'm particularly fond of, Professor Mark Blakey. Is that it? Blake? Mark Blake,
Yeah.
who is a professor of future studies and an anthropologist at the university, faces a life-threatening viral illness. And now you wrote this in 2012, 2017, 18, before Corona-19 or COVID-19, our coronavirus that we've all been under the thumb of for, in this pandemic for over a year now. And so it's just kind of curious that he was fighting that in the book. And yet that, I wonder how these characters, would, how you see them, how they would have with their very, by and large, very positive outlook on life and very engaged, each of them in their own ways, how they would have weathered this quarantine and dealt with this time that we've all been dealing with.
Well, I think that they would have handled the COVID-19 just fine. They're like skillful killers in a good breeze. Because, as you said, they're very engaged and they are very much involved in the idea of sticking to their convictions. They have made the value shifts that I'm talking about the whole world is slowly making. They've come to the conclusion that their work enlivens their life. They're very connected with each other. And their identity is to create change. And they're going to do that in a joyful way. We're not talking about them doing without, we're talking about them actually kind of doing within. They're changing their mindset and slowly trying to convince others that this really isn't that hard to do. They bicycle around Denver in many of these scenes, and they have their Meatless Mondays, and they do their best to invest in local companies, this kind of thing. They're very much one step ahead of the rest of us. They've already made their value shift, and they're looking back at us and they're saying, "Come on in, it works." And one of my phrases is, rather than deadlines and dying species, this kind of a person is more interested in lifelines and living wealth. So they're, and I'm not saying that they're perfect. They certainly have their quirks, and we'll laugh with them sometimes. We'll feel sorry for their mistakes that they make and for their deficiencies, but they're finding a way to stay engaged. And I think that they would have done fine in COVID.
Yeah, well, they had, each of them have faced life challenges and real things that have happened that we all have to face, of loss and of loved ones, and relationships fall apart, and fears, and all of that stuff. So I mean, you wove that in there, but with this incredible positivity of, like you say, of how we can live in a better, more enlivened way. So what do you think is Mark Blake's greatest source of strength as he faces this illness and this very serious thing?
Well, a couple things. One is the book opens with Mark getting this diagnosis.
Right.
And his story continues throughout the novel. However, that's not the main purpose of the book. I mean, the book is he gets support from his friends and family. He has a certain sense that he has to stay alive because he feels committed to his work. He has a reason to be here. And so the book explores the world around Mark as he deals with this challenge, and also points to the idea that a strong person who, in fact, has already lost his wife. He's a widower, and but he finds a way to continue on, and he discovers that although his financial bank accounts are fine, he's a retired professor at this point. What about his relationship bank accounts? And so that is a kind of a key part of the novel. Also, an exploration of what does it mean to be a male. And I think Mark Blake points out that you don't have to be pugilistic in dealing with the disease. You try to outwit it, and you try to finesse it.
Well, the relationships between all the characters, which I would assume for most people who are going to read this book, who are interested in alternative healing methods and energies and ways that we can move forward in a very positive manner and need to desperately at this point, will find I think a lot of resonance and relation in the book. And these are the kind of people who no doubt who do value their own relationships with, those in their lives and with their work and with their world and, to be engaged. And this is, like you have made it very clear, is how it is about how to stay safe in the universe. So, it's, and which is a beautiful thought, a beautiful concept that I think for me was very important. But tell me, that's the subtitle. So how about Tickling the Bear? Where did that come from?
Tickling the Bear actually came out of my own experience. I had a recurring dream when I was a child that the bear was going to get me. And I was down in the bedroom, and I would sometimes go running into my parents' bedroom. There's a bear coming. And, once a year or something, whenever I got particularly stressed, there's that damn bear again. And I was 26. When Mark was 26, let's say, he had a lucid dream. He said, I am so sick of this bear. I'm going to try something crazy. I'm going to tickle this bear and see if it works. And the bear kind of chuckled and kind of walked out of Mark's life forever. He learned a life lesson there. So you asked about his ability to carry forward even with such a dire diagnosis. That's part of it, because you go with the flow. The universe knows the way. We don't necessarily, unless we let go and stop trying to control every little event. So there's room for lightheartedness, even amidst huge challenges that we're facing as a civilization, and with the challenges that some of these characters are facing.
I think you've done a fabulous job, Dave. So what is it that you'd like your readers to take away from reading this book? And when is it going to be available?
Well, first things first, it'll be available in May, 2021, in both digital and print forms. And I did have a lot of fun writing it. I would, think about it every day. Characters were part of my life, kind of thing. And I would like to have people identify with some of these characters, and in all the various little poignant vignettes that I put in, and subplots and so forth. I'd like to have them appreciate my my humor and my questioning of what's going on in the world. The commentary about American life might make some people a little edgy. They might think, "Oh, that guy's just ranting and raving." But if now's not the time to rant and rave, tell me when is. He's an anthropologist for a reason. He's there to talk about what makes humans tick, and what makes humans tick is our emotions, our intuitions, our empathy, and so Mark is there to tell that tale that unless we can come off this wake up from this American dream that we've been having over and over again, like the bear dream, we won't make it successfully. So. That's what I hope they'll take away, the vignettes and the little spicing of humor, the commentary, and I'm hoping the basic message they'll carry away is that the real wealth in our lifetimes is connection with each other, connections with culture, with art, with all the things that are beautiful in our world, and how we need to really work at saving those beautiful things. As a kind of a wrap up, I would pose the question: if we're not caring, how can we be happy? I don't think the word uncaring and happy go together.
No,
I think we have, as human beings who are smart, who are at base empathetic, that's what we need to do. So that's what I'm hoping that book leaves the reader with.
Yes, and it's a great boost of possibilities and hopefulness too. So I just want to let people know they can find out more about the book, read excerpts of it, find out more about you and your your story, life story, your passions, what you've been pursuing at your website. And that is, tell us.
DaveWann.net. I was going to have a little sign holding that up because people always forget it. But
Okay. Yeah, that's yes, Dave Wann, WANN.net. All right, so that people can keep in touch with you. I know that you like to hear, you would love to hear from some comments and feedback. Yeah. And yeah, you had shared that with me. So thank you so much, Dave. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and it's really exciting that this book is going to be out in the world. I hope it has the kind of effect that it should have.
Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate your reading the book and making time to talk with me.
My pleasure. All right, take care. Ciao.